All right, guys, this is Unit 4, Weeks 1 and 2 audio for progress monitoring. This is the Angel of the Battlefield. The birth of the Red Cross. In 1859, a Swiss businessman named Henry Dunant was traveling through Italy when he stumbled across the aftermath of a battle. Thousands of soldiers lay wounded on the battlefield. Dunant discovered that both armies and the people living in the area had no way to treat him. So Dunant helped create a group that would train volunteers to provide aid and relief to soldiers wounded in battle. The Red Cross was born in 1863. Red Cross workers would wear a symbol of a red cross on a white background so armies could identify the medical workers during battle. Years later, countries with majority Muslim populations began using a red crescent instead of a red cross. In 1864, a dozen countries signed the Geneva Convention in Switzerland. The convention called for the humane treatment not only of wounded soldiers, but also for people who came to their aid. Clara Barton's contributions. Clara Barton, known as the Angel of the Battlefield, responded to the great need of wounded soldiers during the American Civil War. When war began, Barton participated in gathering items, such as bandages and other medical supplies, to send to troops. She soon realized that she wanted to do more, so she went to the battlefields and tended to the hurt soldiers in person. She was given permission to treat these men after U.S. Surgeon General William Hammond signed a military pass for her on July 11, 1862. Barton worked tirelessly with the wounded. She also communicated with departments to get the necessary supplies to care for the troops. After the Civil War, many soldiers were missing. Some were lost, imprisoned, or in unmarked graves. Barton created an office and supervised the search to find the missing men. Later, Barton traveled to Europe to help the wounded on battlefields in Europe, where she witnessed the work of the Red Cross organization. Upon her return to the United States, she worked to set up an American Red Cross and finally succeeded in 1882. It was a great achievement, and Barton became the president of the American Red Cross until 1904. The text below the photograph, published circa 1900, reads, "Before the Civil War was over, Clara Barton's name had come to mean mercy and help for the wounded in war or peace alike. She was active throughout the Franco-Prussian War. At its close, she was invited at 42 to join the Red Cross of Geneva. She proposed, in addition to assistance on the field of battle, that the Red Cross bring an aid in practical ways to sufferers from calamities of war, fire, flood, and famine. Her suggestion was carried and is known as the American Amendment, under which $400 million are now being raised in the United States. After World War II, the Red Cross began a nationwide blood program. The program provides equipment and supplies for blood drives in different communities. The service now provides nearly half of the blood or blood products used by hospitals and other health services in the United States. Over time, the Red Cross began to responding to disasters not only related to war. For example, they help provide relief to people affected by natural disasters such as flooding, hurricanes, and wildfires. In 2018, they helped hurricane victims on the southern coast. They also helped people affected by wildfires in California. The Red Cross also helps people during small-scale disasters, providing food, shelter, and clothing to people affected by house fires. The Red Cross began to help the wounded during war. Even 150 years ago, it continued to give vital help to those in need. Paris, France, 1918. In addition to providing medical care, many Red Cross field hospitals also had tents to support patients' well-being. These recreation huts offered chances for people to get away and socialize with others. Some huts had pianos to play and others hosted concerts and parties. Number 1, the prefix super means above and beyond, and the Latin root vis means to see. What does supervise mean as it's used in paragraph 4? Started, discussed, developed, planned, was in charge of, or managed. Pause this, answer your question, and go on to the next one. Number 2, which statement from the passage expresses the author's perspective about the Red Cross? Red Cross workers would wear a symbol of a red cross on a white background so armies could identify the medical workers during battle. The service now provides nearly half of the blood or blood products used by hospitals and other health services in the United States. Over time, the Red Cross began responding to disasters not only related to war. Even 150 years later, it continues to give vital help to those in need. Go ahead and pause and answer your question, and then you can unpause when you're done. Number 3, you need to pick 2 answers. What are 2 ways in which the first photograph and caption support how Clara Barton was the angel of the battlefield? The photograph captures her friendly expression to demonstrate how soldiers were probably comforted by her. The photograph shows her helping pass the American Amendment and the effects it had on the United States. The caption summarizes some of her accomplishments of the battlefield that are mentioned in the passage. The caption describes her life focused on caring for people around the world who suffered pain from the war. The caption details the events that led soldiers to start calling her angel of the battlefield. Number 4, the suffix "ment" shows the result of an action. If it is added to verbs to form nouns. What does achievement mean as it's used in paragraph 5? Not finding success, able to reach a goal, something done successfully, someone who reaches a goal. Number 5, you're going to fill in the bubbles to show the chronology that led to the establishment of the American Red Cross as it's known today. So you're going to click one of these is first, one of these is next, one of these is then, one of these is finally. So you're going to put it in sequence, chronological order. Number 6, how does the Recreation Hut's photograph and captions contribute to the reader's understanding of the passage? Use 2 details from the passage to support your answer. And then we're on to the next story, The Courage of Elizabeth Freeman. Around the year 1742, a child named Bet was born in slavery. She had no last name. She and her younger sister, Lizzie, grew up in the household of Peter Hodgeboom, a Dutch landowner. He lived in the Hudson Valley of New York State. Bet and Lizzie were either sold or given by the Hodgeboom family to John and Hannah Ashley of Sheffield, Massachusetts. Bet lived in the Ashley household for about 30 years. There are not many documents that give information about her early life, and the facts are difficult to determine. Records state that she married and had a child, but that time she was known as Mum Bet. Her daughter was called Little Bet. Her husband fought in the American Revolution and was probably killed in battle. John Ashley, the head of the Ashley household, was an influential man. In 18th century Massachusetts, he was a lawyer and a judge, and he was involved in writing the state constitution, which established the laws of the state. The Constitution adopted in October of 1789 included a statement called the Sheffield Declaration. It said mankind in a state of nature are equal, free, and independent of each other and have a right to undisturbed enjoyment of their lives, their liberty, and property. No one knows just how Mum Bet learned about this statement, and some sources say she overheard a discussion about it when serving at the family table or working around the house. Others say she heard the Sheffield Declaration read aloud at the village meeting house. Either way, the statement made her think about the injustice of slavery. No one is sure either what drove Mum Bet to act. One story claims that Mum Bet became furious at Hannah Ashley's cruel treatment of her sister Lizzie. In trying to defend her sister, Mum Bet received a serious injury on her arm. Mum Bet left the Ashley house and refused to return. The Ashleys tried to use the law to bring her back, and at that time, slavery was legal in Massachusetts. Mum Bet went to a lawyer named Theodore Sedgwick, who was known for his anti-slavery views. He would later become a state senator. She asked him to help file a lawsuit for her freedom. Sedgwick agreed, and another man named Broome joined in the lawsuit. Citing the state constitution, Sedgwick sued for their freedom, claiming that Ashley was acting unlawfully by enslaving Mum Bet. The case was tried in 1781, and in August of that year, Sedgwick won the case. There is no record of what happened to Broome after the trial. The court found Ashley and Mum Bet was free. Other similar cases were tried in Massachusetts, and finally in 1783, slavery was outlawed in the state of Massachusetts. Massachusetts was only the third state in the United States to ban slavery, and it did so more than 80 years before slavery was outlawed in the country as a whole. Mum Bet changed her name to Elizabeth Freeman and went to work as a paid housekeeper for the Sedgwicks. She stayed with them until she was able to buy her own house. The family loved and relied on her, and in an uprising called Shays' Rebellion, she defended the Sedgwicks' house against rebels who tried to enter and loot it. Holding a shovel and using her wits, she convinced the rebels to leave. Freeman died in 1829 and is buried in the Sedgwick family burial plot. Elizabeth Freeman was denied access to an education, but she had strong beliefs and she was courageous. She fought hard for her freedom and later became a respected nurse and midwife in her community. Not only did Freeman's daring and inspiring efforts help change the Massachusetts law allowing slavery, but her case inspired others in northern states to sue for their freedom. Number 7, Part A. Which statement describes the author's perspective about Elizabeth Freeman? She loved her family a great deal. She showed great determination and bravery. She was misunderstood by historians for many years. She may have accomplished even more if she were allowed to receive an education. Again, you can pause and answer and then come back. Part B, which statement from the passage supports the answer in Part A? There are not many documents that give information about her early life, and the facts are difficult to determine. Some sources say she overheard a discussion about it when serving at the family table working around the house. The case was tried in 1781, and in August of that year, Sedgwick won the case. She fought hard for her freedom and later became a respected nurse and midwife in her community. Number 8, read these sentences from the passage. It said, mankind in a state of nature are equal, free, and independent of each other, and having a right to the undisturbed enjoyment of their lives, their liberty and property. Either way, the statement made her think about the injustice of slavery. Using the knowledge of the Latin prefix in means not. Fill in the bubbles to match the words independent and injustice from the passage with the correct meanings. Not all the columns will be used. So what would independent and injustice mean? Number 9, the suffix or means person who. What does senator mean as it's used in the paragraph? A local volunteer, someone from another state, a member of state senate, someone who believes in no government. Number 10, you're picking 2 answers. What are 2 examples of chronology in the passage? Massachusetts outlawed slavery 2 years after Freeman won her case. Freeman left the house and refused to return after defending her sister. Freeman was inspired to hire a lawyer after overhearing the Sheffield Declaration read aloud. John Ashley was an influential person who helped write the Massachusetts Constitution. Freeman gained her freedom less than a year after the adoption of the Massachusetts Constitution. And that is it. Make sure you turn in your tests.